What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Amazing Seller Podcast. This is episode 111. And today, we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic, one that you may or may not have heard of, one that's been happening in the website, kind of like flipping arena. But we're going to talk today about, one, selling an Amazon business, and we're also going to talk about buying an Amazon business. There's two sides of that, and I think there's a huge opportunity for both sides. And we're going to talk to Ty Roney today, and we're going to explain everything that he's been working on, but also the ins and the outs of kind of that process. So I'm really, really excited about that. I definitely think you should listen to this episode because you might not be thinking about it right now, but in the future, it might be a really, really lucrative thing that you can do on both sides, either sell or buy. And we'll talk all about that. I'm really, really excited to talk to Ty about this. And it's something that we've been talking about kind of behind the scenes, and I'm going to be able to share with you now for the first time. So really, really excited about that. Before we do jump in though, I did want to give a little shout out to our TAS Facebook community. This one here really struck a chord with me. And it's not about like having the success of a business and all of that stuff. It's really about grinding. It's really about doing things so you can actually stay at home with your kids or have more free time. That's really why we're doing this. So let me just kind of read this. I'm going to, I'll kind of tell you or explain in the picture that she posted. But Christina Kuntz Answorth, I probably did not pronounce that right. And Christina, I apologize. But here's what I wanted to say. And I got a little short story I want to share with you about this. But here is what Christina said. Here is my listen to the podcast photo. So some of you, if you're listening all the way back, you probably have heard me say, hey, if you're listening to this and you're taking a walk or you're whatever, you're taking a ride or you're, maybe in the plane, take a picture. Tell me where you're listening. And she took a picture of her kitchen table, it looks like, with a whole bunch of packing all over it. Her baby laying there on a blanket, kind of just hanging out, some laundry. I mean, the whole thing, right? And she says, I currently sell a product on eBay, so I'm packing by hand. Manufacturing has started in China for Amazon distribution. My 4-month-old baby and a pile of laundry are in the background. Excited to be able to stay home with him. Thanks, everyone, for all your help. This really struck a chord because my wife and I, going back probably 9-10 years ago, we were doing things like this on eBay as well. And we did that to afford our kids to be able to go to a private school because that was important to us. We were going to, I don't know if you guys have heard about it, like the Christmas tree shop. And we would buy like these wooden cedar bridges and we would repackage them and we would sell them. We were always doing things to try to make some extra money for our family, for our freedom. And this right here, just I looked at this and I seen the packing and I seen the cup of coffee that says keep calm and drink tea, or it's tea, I'm sorry, and the laundry and the baby and the packaging. It just really made me remember, kind of we were doing that too. And when we got introduced to obviously the online space where I was able to teach a little bit more in my photography business back then, going back, 6-7 years ago, then recently Amazon FBA where you don't have to do all this packing and stuff. So it really just made me say that, you do what you got to do, right? You learn the process, then it's really adapting to a channel. So I just really wanted to kind of comment on this, and Christina, just say, I've been there. I know what you're doing. I admire you. I think that it is awesome that you're able to spend time with your baby, right? Because that's what we're doing this for. At least I am, and I know you are, and I know a lot of other people are as well. So I just wanted to really share that. It brought a smile to my face, actually, looking at your little baby there. Looks like he might even be smiling a little bit too, but I remember those days. I mean, man, oh man, my kids are, 20, 17, and 7, and it goes so quick. And what we do here for the freedom is really things like this, and you'll do what you got to do. So awesome. Thanks so much for sharing that, and everyone that has responded or commented on that and giving her a little bit of support and love. Awesome job in there. That's what the TAS community is all about. So, all right, so let's go ahead and dive into today's interview with Ty Roney, and you're going to hear all about, we're going to update you on his progress. I had him on the podcast in an earlier episode, but now what we're going to do is get caught up to where he is today, and we're also going to talk about this new thing that we're exploring, kind of like flipping websites, but maybe flipping Amazon businesses, or maybe buying an Amazon business that's already currently selling, and all of the opportunities there. So enjoy the interview with Ty Roney. All right. Well, I am really excited again to have Ty Roney on the show. What is up, Ty? How's it going, man?
It's going well. Thanks for having me back, Scott. I gotta say, there's one thing I gotta make fun of you for, and it's the fact that I'm in your private label classroom,
Yeah.
and I saw one of the hangouts earlier, right before I had joined. You guys started calling me Tyrone, so just remember, my name is Ty, and last name is Roney. But you can call me Tyrone. Some people like to call me Tyrone. Either way works.
We will call you Ty, but yes, it may get confused in there. That is funny.
People love it. People love it. Some people just refuse to even call me Ty anymore. So it's all good. But I got a kick out of that when I was looking at the hangouts in the private label classroom. It was awesome.
That is funny. Okay, cool. All right. So, all right. A lot's happened since I had you on the show. And the reason why I'm having you on right now is because of a new idea, a new concept, a new strategy for Amazon sellers. But before we kind of get to that, let's kind of give people an update. And people that are just tuning in for the first time, they haven't heard your episode. That is episode 33, all the way back to episode 33. Ty Roney was on, and he shared his whole story about how he came from the toy business and then how he was doing wholesale and all of that stuff. And then when he got into private labeling. So if you want to listen to that, go back and check that out. That's theamazingseller.com/33. Now, Ty, let's give people a quick update though. So at that time, you didn't even have, I don't think, your product launch yet. You were just about ready to pull the trigger. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. At the time of that episode, I had just ordered my first product and had also started an agency to help other people sell on Amazon. So it was kind of doing both at the same time.
And how is that gone so far? As far as, okay, let's talk about your product first, then we'll talk about your agency, and then we're going to talk about exactly why we're on today, because I really wanted to dive into that because I think it's exciting. So let's talk about the product. So you I think at that point you were just about ready to receive it, or you received it and you're ready to launch. So walk us quickly through a launch strategy that you used to get up and running and to kind of get sales rolling.
Yeah, so it was really quite similar, similar to the strategy that you teach. All the standard stuff. The one thing that I did that I think was really helpful, that was different maybe than what a lot of people do. I didn't worry about going into an industry that had crazy demand, so the competition wasn't too crazy. And then I also really focused on what made my product different. I always think about, it doesn't matter, how cheap your product might be or whatnot. Somebody needs a reason to buy it, So I wanted to make sure that my product looked very different than the ones that were out there. And so I think it really helps when people are scrolling down in the search results to say, well, look, it costs them nothing to scroll their little finger down, and so you got to do something that catches their attention, which is usually in the image or the title, right? So I made my product look very different than everyone else's, and it's worked out really well. It was actually really simple to get to the first page. I made it to the second page without doing a giveaway, just through PPC, and then I did a launch giveaway, and only gave away about 85 units and made it to the first page. So for a while there, I was averaging about 10 units a day. And then, but that was because I had launched it kind of in June, July.
Okay.
So it was kind of averaging anywhere between 10 and 20 units a day. And then once we made it past August, now I'm averaging 40 units a day, which is fantastic. So I'm excited about that.
Wow. That is really good. So let me get this straight. So you turned on pay-per-click instantly, started targeting some of those main keywords, and then from there you did like an 85 unit giveaway. Did you spread out those 85, or did you do them all in one blast?
I spread them out.
Okay.
Yeah, I spread them out across maybe 4 days, I think. So
okay.
So yeah, pretty straightforward. And one thing I think that does help is, I used a giveaway service, but I did Viral Launch, but I also did Thomason. So I kind of did a hybrid where I feel like Viral Launch gave me a good, is easy to use and it just blasts out product. But if you focus, you can find really, people that leave really quality reviews through Thomason, or just anyone that's willing to give you a really good review. So I think it helped too, trying to find people that, have a good reviewer rating in Amazon.
Sure.
Those top reviewers and people that'll leave quality reviews. I think there's something to it. People that leave photos, people that, write longer reviews. I don't know how Amazon exactly rates the quality of reviews, but I think it helps.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I know some people say that it doesn't help inside of Amazon, but I think it may be searchable on Google. So it could do an SEO benefit for you, but we don't know that for sure, but it can't hurt, right? I mean,
yeah. And if nothing else, it just helps with your conversion, right? Somebody leaving a review
Totally.
that is better than, hey, I like this.
Totally.
Where, it's someone takes a picture of it and explains how fun it was to use or whatever. It can only help with your conversion rate. So
absolutely. So that's awesome. Congratulations, by the way. And I think that is really, really awesome. And because you've built up that business now, you've got another plan for that business, which we're going to talk about, which is, yes, I think, exciting. So we're going to talk about that. And before we jump into that, your agency, how's that going? I know that was kind of starting as well. I mean, you had some clients, some pretty high level clients. How's that been going?
It's been going really well. It never ceases to amaze me how many companies that already have products. These are companies that they're a brand, or they have products and they're in a couple retail stores, or they might even be in mass retail. And so many of these companies don't know a single thing about Amazon, and that business has exploded. We've built a team. I've got several employees, and we have over 20 clients now, and we're picking them up very quickly. Because people want to know, they don't, there's, obviously people like us, we're excited to learn and dig in, but somebody that already has a profitable company or is launching a brand, they want to move fast and they want somebody that can do it right. So the demand for that's been just wild. It's been really, really great. And it's been a really valuable experience, because now I've got 20 different Seller Central accounts that I've been, working on, and we've done some really fun things for our clients. One of our clients had nothing on Amazon, and we built out their products, and now they're doing over 50,000 a month. So that's really exciting. Fun to watch that happen.
And they got to be happy.
Yeah, they're very happy. And it's funny. They're also the ones that are pushing us really hard to keep increasing sales.
That's awesome.
So it's like my favorite client is also they're also, I think they get it. They're aggressive. They want us to do good things. So they're pushing me. It's great.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I love it that we're breaking down you in general, that you came from like just business, right? E-commerce, or even just brick and mortar. So both sides of that. And then you found a way to launch your own product in an industry that you were familiar with. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you've seen that there's a service out there for people that have brick and mortar businesses that don't want to have the hassle of going through and doing all this stuff. So you're like, I can kind of systemize things and take people through this and charge a fee and get a commission every single month, whatever. But there's two different models you've just done there. And now we're going to talk about a third one in a second, but I think that's amazing. And I think that there's definitely a demand for both of those, right? So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. It's been amazing. There really is. There's so much opportunity. The more you get involved in things, and obviously Amazon, there's just, the more opportunities that open up, and with this, it's really cool to see so many people with brands and products, and so many people need help when it comes to Amazon, and they're so interested. So it's been great.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. All right, so let's talk about this new strategy, or this new thing that we feel is going to be pretty big. And what we're going to be talking about, guys, and Ty actually came to me with this idea. After our interview, he kind of was brainstorming like all entrepreneurs do. We just keep, running through these ideas, and we're just, we're ideas people. So the whole idea that Ty came to me with, and I'll let you explain it, but was kind of like, how do we have other people that have Amazon businesses that want to exit out of the business? And then from there, how can we marry that to someone else that wants to buy a business that's already up and running and doesn't want to go through the hassle of actually picking a product and launching a product and, getting it up and running? Someone that has some cash laying around that might want to invest it into a business that's already kind of going through the entire growth model, but might not want to stick it out with that. So Ty, why don't you talk a little bit about what you came to me with and kind of where we are right now in this process?
Yeah, I'm super excited. So I started thinking about this opportunity, and so I've bought a website before, and I've sold my percentage of an Amazon business before. So I have some experience in buying and selling businesses, and I got to thinking, you know what? Like I love the launch model. I've got my whole process in place. I'm doing this for I've done it for hundreds of products now with between my clients and my own. And so I thought, you know what, I like the idea of having some potential exit, being able to just sell it if I wanted to. And I found that really interesting. And I also thought, you know what, there's got to be a lot of people out there that want to speed up the process, right? Of not having to go through and pick out a product and worry if it's going to sell, and you know what I mean? It just takes a long time, and there's an investment there, right? So I felt like, man, there could be a ton of value if we could provide a marketplace for people to buy and sell Amazon-based businesses. And so, I asked you about it, and you said, man, that seems like a really interesting idea, And so I started asking a little bit on some forums on Facebook, and even in the TAS group, I just said, hey, is anyone out there interested in buying or selling Amazon businesses? And we got a great response. There were like 5 people on that list that said, I will buy one right now in cash. So I thought, okay, there's some sort of market there. We need to provide this for people because it could be, it's just so cool, right? There's so many people that most entrepreneurs that I know of love an exit, right? It's just exciting. And especially when we like launching things, but we just say, you know what, we like the launch process. Maybe the scale down the road is we're worried about getting bored at that point. So let's launch it and sell it. And then there's a lot of people, and whether they're investors or people that just want to get into this for the first time, that want to shave off 3 to 6 months of testing to see if a product will work and just jump right in, and then the next day get immediate cash flow, right? So that's kind of the whole idea in a nutshell.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I think of it like the real estate market in a sense, right? We've got house flippers. We've got people that renovate houses and rent them out, right? So we've got all that. So we've always had someone that was like, the fixer-upper, the rehabber that fixes up a property, makes it more valuable. And then from there, an investor comes in and buys it and then takes advantage of all the work that you've done to get it to that point. So it's kind of the similar thing. I always look at it like that, or being a contractor, fixing up a house and then selling those services. So I look at it like, here's kind of how I look at it. Like, let's say, for example, your whole model was to just get Amazon businesses with 2 or 3 products up and running and making 10 grand profit per month. Like, if that was your model, and get that to start generating that for 6, 8 months to a year consistently, then from there, being able to offload that and exit out of that and sell it to someone that's sitting there with a couple $100,000 and says, I would be willing to buy that, as long as it's generating that and you can show proof that it's been doing that, and there's a potential for me to scale that even larger. So let's kind of talk a little bit about that, about like, what can we expect if we were to sell a piece of, I guess, internet property is really what we're doing here. Like, how much can we expect to pay, and what are your projections that people would pay for an Amazon business?
Yeah, so this remains to be seen in large part, but I do think, in my experience, and we have some great brokers on our team, and we've all talked about it, and we're looking at 20 times your monthly net earnings. So basically 20 times your monthly actual profit is a pretty standard rule for what a lot of online businesses are selling for, at least as a starting point. So that can, and that's based on all sorts of things, right? But the number, that's where we're going to kind of set as our base is 20 times your monthly net. So if you, like you said, if you're making $10,000 a month in complete profit, which would be an awesome business, right? Mm-hmm. You sell that for 20 times. So, you could sell that potentially for 200 grand. And then, who knows, maybe depending on certain factors, we might offer it for a little less or a little more. But at the end of the day, you might get 100 buyers or 10 buyers or whoever that are all looking at it, and they'll kind of set the price anyway for you, right? That's just kind of a starting point. But I think that that's a really reasonable place to start. And I believe that it's definitely something that we could sell these businesses for.
Yeah, no. And I mean, there's already a website out there, Empire Flippers. And what they do is they've done this for years now, where they're doing that with like AdSense sites. Some of them are Amazon kind of like affiliate sites and stuff. But they've been doing this now for years. For at least the past 5 years that I know of. And there's a marketplace there for websites. So if you have a website that's generating $10,000 a month in revenue, no matter how it's coming, however the money's coming, you can sell that property, that piece of web property, and they've been doing it. So they've proved the model works. Now, let me ask you this. what do you know currently what the going rate is for a business is like, I mean, is it 20x? Is it 25x? Where is that point?
Yeah, I mean, that's where they start. And I know, that's where a lot of it totally depends, on the different sites. I've even noticed on Empire Flippers, sometimes they'll bump it up to 30 times the monthly earnings, if it's growing, right? So It all depends on how long it's been in business. Helps, having a little history on your side. And then also if it's a really growing market, if each month, is growing over the last one, and it's really in a growth phase, people are willing to pay more for that, right? If they're anticipating that it will keep growing. Whereas if it was something more steady or kind of flatlined, they might just say, okay, I know that's more standard investment, and I might not be willing to pay quite as much for that or something like that, right? So, but I think 28 times is a really good base model, and I think a lot of people get that for their site.
Okay, so I want to be totally transparent with everyone too. I mean, you came to me with this idea, and you're like, Scott, what do you think of this? I think it's a great idea. My problem is I don't have time to be working on this stuff, and I don't have the resources that you may have or anything. And you were like, well, would you mind being like kind of on the board of directors? Would you like to be part of this? And I said, yeah, I would love to be a part of it as long as I can have some say in it, some voice, and kind of like, able to help steer the ship a little bit. And you were like, yeah, totally. And then I think like maybe a month and a half went by, maybe even 2 months. And you said, hey, I've been moving forward on this. I've been looking into this. We've got attorneys on, we've got, all of the legal stuff we got kind of figured out. We've got a designer on hand now and all this stuff. And then that's where we just recently had a meeting, and it was pretty much said, let's see what the people think, right? Let's see if this is really going to be something that people would be interested in. So you built out with the designers and everything, you built out a site, and we're calling it jungleflippers.com. Okay. So basically that right there, again, me being kind of part of it, being able to be on the board of directors, if you will, right? Being able to have some say, I'm excited about it too, because I see the opportunity. And like I told you, I said, I may even be a buyer, right? I mean, I may take some money and want to invest in one of these businesses when it comes through, because as you start making money too, you want to start finding other ways to make money. Now, again, you talked about, and I know we're kind of jumping all over the place, but you can see how excited I get about this too, because there's so many different things, so many different spins on this. But like you were saying, like the 20x factor or the 25x factor or even a 30x factor, that could depend on this as well, guys. If, let's say, for example, you have an Amazon business that's doing that kind of money, but you also have an authority website that's attached to it, then that site's doing another $1,500 a month. Well, now all of a sudden you've got a more stable business, even than just an Amazon business. So that might scale things up just a little bit as far as how much you're going to be able to in turn get for that. Does that make sense, Ty?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Having that additional piece, would definitely add to the value. And that's another thing too. Somebody with that skill set, right? So for instance, my skill set, I don't have a great skill set when it comes to building out a nice website and all that stuff. Like I got to hire people out to do all those things. And so for me, I'm looking at it on the other hand saying, gosh, you know what? I don't know if I'm the one. I've got my brand on Amazon. I'm launching brands all the time and I love it. I don't have time. I'm like, it's so funny. I'm spending less time now than I ever did on selling my product on Amazon, right? But my sales are increasing, but I don't have time to actually go ahead and, or maybe I'm just not willing to, right? To build out a really nice site for that product and do the next steps to where it could be really, that's what I would need to do to kind of scale it. But if somebody had that skill set that says, well, wow, you know what? He's got something started on Amazon. I'm really good at, I can definitely put more effort and time into building out a website and doing some other things that can really help grow this brand. I mean, that's a perfect match, right? So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, no, and again, I mean, even again, talking, kind of like what I've been working on, like right now, like even for my own business, is seeing that there is some money coming in now. I'm taking some of that money and I'm investing in having an authority blog built, and I'm having that content created by someone else, right? But I'm paying to have it done. But I know that it's an investment in my head that if I can get that up and running and over the course of the next 8 to 12 months, more of a longer term strategy, start getting some Google traffic, that's going to only help me if I did want to exit out of this business. It's only going to make that business more valuable. But again, it depends on you. If you want to build a little business that's doing $5,000 a month and you're going to get 20 times on that, that might be a good thing for you because you're good at starting, little Amazon businesses that start creating a positive cash flow. And then all of a sudden you can then exit off of that, take that money and reinvest it in something else or get something else started. Or maybe that's just your business model. It's like a house flipper. You find the next house, you improve it, you put it on the market, you flip it, you make 20, 30% on your money. So there's a whole bunch of different spins that you can do, as far as with this, but just understand that if you're listening to this and you have a business that maybe you're just not passionate about, but it's making money and you wanted to get out of it so you could start something else, this is something that you could potentially do. Put it on, I almost call it like the MLS, right? For Amazon businesses, where you're going to be able to list it into a marketplace where you're going to have people that have money that are investors that want to go shop there and see if something makes sense. And then from there, Ty, you're going to be able to facilitate kind of like the interview process, kind of like the technical side of things as far as like what needs to be done as far as making the transaction happen and all of that stuff. But really, it's going to be able to take an investor that wants to invest in a property and someone that has an Amazon business that's positively making cash and then being able to marry the two. That's kind of how I look at it. And it's like I said, it's like a piece of real estate in a sense that you're able to put into the marketplace. So I'm really excited about this. I know this is totally in its infancy, and I think this is going to be moving forward. This is going to be a viable model for people, especially going all the way back to building niche sites. I mean, Spencer Hawes over to Niche Pursuits. I mean, he's talked about this for years, building these little niche sites and getting them up to where they're making a positive cash flow. He can either keep that or he can sell it. And now with Flippa, you have that website that you can buy and sell websites as well. But again, it's just another way for you to either go into this business or go out of this business, right? So is there anything else you wanted to add to that that I might be missing, Ty?
No, dude, I'm super excited because we mentioned that I've got plans for mine, and I'm one of those guys where I think I'm going to do the flipper model, right? I like building them and selling them. So I'm going to sell my business at the end of the year. I want to get Christmas sales in first. You can't blame me for that.
Sure.
But I've been talking to people, and so many people are really, obviously, better than anyone, Scott. People are very interested in what's happening on Amazon. And it's whether the investor, and I'm putting together, a whole PDF and if you, join the newsletter or whatever, you can learn all about, how to buy an Amazon business or things to consider when selling your business. But, one of the things I've really been thinking about is when it comes to buying an Amazon business, I mean, deciding why you want to buy a business is the most important part, in my opinion. You need to have a really clear objective. And so if you're just wanting to be an investor, wow, Amazon's a pretty awesome business because if it's as hands off as you want it to be, and you could hire out the things that you didn't want to do, right? But at the same time, if you said, well, I want to look at this and buy a business and say I want to grow it, well, then you need to make sure that you understand, okay, well, what else could I do here to grow it, and what skill sets do I have that could really leverage it and kind of take it to the next level. But the more people I talk to, the more they say, man, this is so interesting. I really think that the beautiful part about the Amazon model is you've already kind of outsourced everything in a sense. A lot of it's outsourced, right? By using Amazon's FBA and all that stuff, it's there's a lot of things that they don't have to think about, which is really attractive to an investor or somebody wanting to just jump into it for the first time. So I think there's just a lot of value that people can get, both on the buyer side and on the seller side. So yeah, I really don't have anything else other than we're really excited to test out and see if there's interest, right? And this will kind of be our beta launch, right? See what people think, and we're really curious to hear what you guys have to say and to see, if you want to learn more about it, and we're hopeful to get a bunch of sites listed on there in the next few months.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see where that goes too. And what I will say too, and just kind of highlight it again for people, like let's give an example here, right? Let's say, for example, I'm an investor and I've got a couple $100,000 that I want to invest. So I go ahead, I look into buying one, I look at the website and I find one that I'm interested in. I go through the process with you. We contact each other. We kind of go through all of the stuff that needs to be done, going back and forth a little bit to make sure that, you're the right person for the website and or the Amazon site that is, and everything checks out. So your $200,000, let's say as an investor, because I'm looking at it as like a real estate investor, right? If you spend $200,000 on a rental property, you're going to be getting maybe a positive cash flow, maybe a couple $100 a month, right? After everything is paid, and you're hoping in the next 7 to 10 years that you can cash out of that and maybe make I don't know, 30, 40 grand on that, maybe 80 grand, depending on where where the market is. But in this case, let's say, for example, you did that. You took that $200,000, you invested it into an Amazon business that was already doing $10,000 a month, right? So basically, if you did the 20x, so that's 200,000 in 20 months, that would be paid off in a sense. So that basically that house in a sense is paid off, right? Now, after that, everything is positive. Or in the meantime, if you built that to where now it's making $20,000, now you're going to be able to double your money. You're going to be able to sell that for $400,000 or more because it's growing, right? So you've just doubled your money and you've made some money in the process. So that's kind of how I look at it. Like there's that investor model. Now, as looking at it from the other perspective, is someone that knows how to find products, knows how to list products, maybe has a team in place to really put all of those pieces together and crank these things out, get it seasoned, because obviously we need it seasoned to be able to give it a track record as how many sales they're doing. And all of this stuff would have to be obviously checked into, all of the numbers, all of the stats, all of that stuff, make sure there wasn't promos running, all of that stuff, which would be done. And then from there, you're able to list that into a marketplace where you're connected with investors that have money that might want to buy it. And all of a sudden you can quickly build something in, 8 to 12 months and cash out of that and then take your money and run, right? I mean, so that's what I see as the two. So I just want people to understand that. Again, this is kind of just us talking out loud here and sharing this conversation, but also letting you know kind of where we're going with this. And I would really like people, if you're interested at all, either to be a seller or to be a buyer, head over to jungleflippers.com/info. All right. And there's going to be a document there that you can download, and it'll give you all about this as far as like what it means for the seller and what it means for the buyer. All right. And Ty's working on that. So if you go there, you can go ahead and sign up to receive that. And then you'll be notified of any other updates and, kind of us moving forward with this project, because that's really what it is. It's kind of like this early project that we're working on that we think will be really, really good for the marketplace. But again, we won't know until we actually get it out there. So I would definitely recommend you going over and doing that. So Ty, now that I'm out of breath because I'm so excited, and you are too, what else did you want to say before we go ahead and wrap this up? I know you got to run. We kind of tried to get you on here so we can at least get this out. But is there anything else that you wanted to say before we call it a wrap?
Yeah, sure. So real quick, I'm realizing the one big piece that we're hoping to provide at Jungle Flippers. I mean, really two pieces of value. One is just to connect everyone, right? To get a buyer and a seller together, so that we can make these transactions happen. And so, you'll be dealing with a broker to get that done. But a big part of what we're going to do at Jungle Flippers, and particularly me, in the beginning especially, is to vet the sellers. And the nice part about this is it's a lot easier to vet an Amazon business than it is a website. So because I know Seller Central in and out. I've been living in Seller Central for several years, and I have access to over 20 accounts. And I know how to pull all the data. So the nice part that we're hoping to provide is say, look, we are going to vet these sellers and, do everything that we can to, I'll be logging into their Seller Central account to make sure that all the numbers are there, because the nice thing is that cash doesn't lie. So I can look at their payments and all their transactions and see exactly what's going on. Obviously, anytime there's a transaction, the buyer always, they're responsible for their due diligence, right? You need to really make sure that you look into what you want to look into, and that's just kind of part of the game. But our goal is to only provide these businesses that we've personally looked into, and from as much as we can tell when I log into their accounts and I look at their at their sales and their breakdown and everything and where the cash is coming from, that it's a legitimate thing, right? And then at the same time, we're also going to protect the sellers by the only really serious buyers are going to be able to learn more about the particular product and everything, and they'll have to put a down payment, like a refundable deposit or whatever, into an escrow account, so that they can actually have access to look at it. That way we don't get a bunch of people just kicking the tires that are not really interested, just kind of want to browse or whatever. So
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this, though, and this is kind of right off the cuff here, and we'll kind of have this conversation live. So if someone, because we haven't talked about this, if someone comes to the Jungle Flippers website and they're looking at the marketplace, will we at least have a category that it's in?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So you'll know the general category. You'll get a lot of numbers, all the data, all the numbers data that you want. And then if you're more interested, people that are saying, okay, this looks like a great, a great business. I like the category. The category seems great, or whatever. And maybe we can even put in, a few more specifics too. We could put in whether they ship it by air or by sea. Maybe the weight and the dimensions of the item or something like that. So we'll break it down pretty clear, and then only once you get past that point where it's a serious buyer that is willing to put down some money just because they're wanting to move forward and learn more about it, then they'll get complete access to know the exact product and all of that.
Yeah, no, I think that'll be good. And I think as we move forward here and you move forward with all of the interactions between the two parties, you're going to be able to also see what needs to be, included, on the website as far as like what people are saying. Like, I really wish I would know how many products they actually are selling and how many of product 1 is selling and 2 is selling and so on. So that stuff will definitely be tweaking along the way. But I think it's a work in progress right now, but it's something I'm really excited about. And I think that it's an opportunity for both sides, right? It's an opportunity for someone that wants to build these little businesses, and then or a bigger business. If you have a bigger business right now, you might be thinking that this would be great. I can go ahead and get out of this because I just don't have the passion for it anymore, and I want to exit. I've got other things I want to focus on, because there's just different circumstances for everyone. So you just never ever know why someone is going to want to sell a business. And then on the flip side of that, the person that's an investor, it's a great opportunity to walk into something that's already working and then decide to either invest more to get it up and running and scale it, or to just maintain it. So I'm super excited about it. I want to thank you, Ty, for coming on and also making that initial outreach to me, saying like, hey, what do you think about this idea? I was sitting in the car with my wife and I was talking about this, and she said, that sounds like a great idea. And you're like, and I don't get that much. I think I remember you saying that.
Yeah.
We're always hitting our wives, and we're saying like, I got this great idea for this, and they're like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, it's like you can kind of. My wife is amazing, and she's always supportive, right? But this time she just said, no, I think you should do this. She encouraged me, and usually she's like, I'm just here for the ride, honey.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to get too stressed out.
Yeah.
Poor thing.
Yeah.
But in this situation, she was really excited about it. She really loved the idea and the model, and seeing that this is something that I think people want, and that we're going to test that soon here, right? But I got to imagine there's people like me that want to sell a business, and I know that there's lots of people that want to buy. So it should be fun.
Yeah. No, and just to let people know too, a little bit more in on the story, you actually reached out to the TAS community and you put that out there. You're like, hey, would anybody be interested in either buying and selling? And then you got that response. And then you also got a response back from someone who now is on the Jungle Flippers team, who actually he's brokeraged websites before. So he's no stranger to brokeraging deals, and now he's part of the team. So I just think it's kind of cool how it all kind of came together. You were reaching out with your own resources, but then that just kind of came to us, and he's been awesome.
Yeah, John's awesome. I'm super excited. This is going to be like I say, I keep saying this over and over, but it'll be a lot of fun, and I really appreciate you have me on, so we can it's fun because this is it's like a meeting for us, and
totally.
I apologies to anyone listening if they're like, what's going on here, but I just think it's a lot of fun because it's like just a chance for you and I to chat again and have another meeting about what a really exciting project that we think could help a lot of people. So
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, that is going to wrap up our little conversation. But hey, I think it's gonna be great. But we won't know until people go check it out. So anyone that's interested in either buying or selling an Amazon business, head over to jungleflippers.com/info, and you'll be able to sign up to get more information. And also you'll get that PDF that Ty's putting together that'll really outline all of the nitty gritty. So Ty, once again, thanks again for taking time to hang out with me. I'm sure we'll have more conversations, and we'll probably have you back on too to kind of give an update probably a few months down the line here and let people know how it's going. But thanks again for coming on, Ty.
Thank you, Scott. We'll see you.
All right, man. Take care. Okay, so there you have it. Lots and lots of opportunities out there, let me tell you. And as being an entrepreneur, you're always kind of seeing these opportunities. And when Ty brought that to my attention, I said, man, oh man, this makes sense. And when he said, would you like to be a part of it? I said, absolutely. I would love to kind of, be a part of this, because I know that I could be on both sides of that. I could be a buyer of a business right now that's currently maybe doing $5,000 or $10,000 a month. I mean, that would be worth it, right? As long as I looked at it, I could project that it was going to do as well, if not maybe even do better, and we can grow it. Or you could also be on the other end of it, where you just take your expertise, you find a few products, you get them launched, you build a brand, and then over time, you kind of get that seasoned, and then you can put it in the marketplace. Almost like buying a house, fixing it up, making it better, and then selling it for a profit. It's the same idea, but really, I mean, not that much risk. And to me, it's a shorter time. As far as if you're going into the real estate market, you usually have to let that mature a lot longer. So I'm really excited about this. If you guys are interested in this, head over to jungleflippers.com. It's that simple, jungleflippers.com. You'll have two options there. You can be a buyer, you can be a seller. Click on one or the other or both, and then go ahead and enter your email address. And then what you'll do is you'll get updates from Ty as far as the progress, but you'll also get notifications when there's either a new business listed or an Amazon business listed, and all of the ins and the outs of what you'll need to do to set your business up properly. So if you ever did want to exit, I know a lot of people right now are building a business to exit later, and it's totally possible. There's websites out there selling for millions of dollars. Now, I'm not saying you're going to get a business, you may, but I'm not saying that your goal is to get your Amazon business to where you're going to do a 7-figure exit. Now, there is some people that are doing that, and that's fine, but you may just want to do the quick turnaround and maybe make an extra $200,000, $300,000 by getting that business kind of through the growing pains into where it's profitable. So, all right, anyway, I'm excited about this. You guys can tell. Jungleflippers.com. Really excited about that. Ty Roney is an awesome guy. He knows a lot about this business. You heard he's managing over 20 accounts right now, so he knows a thing or two about the Amazon business. And he also mentioned that he's probably going to be one of those first early businesses that's going to be listed on there for sale. So we're expecting more businesses to put theirs up for sale, and then also having buyers come in. So if you do have a business right now that you're thinking about selling, reach out to Ty and let him take a look at it. And from there, he can tell you if it's worth it now, or maybe you wait a little bit and get it seasoned, or maybe you have to tweak a couple things, whatever. Reach out to Ty. He'll definitely help you out. Jungleflippers.com is where you'll get all that information. All right, guys, thank you so much. Remember, I'm here for you. I believe in you. I'm rooting for you, but you have to. Come on, let's say it together. I've got my hands up in the air. If you guys could see me, take action. Have an awesome day, and I'll see you in the next episode.